Today's episode is brought to you by my new book, Fuck Whales, Petty Essays from a Brilliant Mind. Available now at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or anywhere books are sold. Welcome to the best debate in the universe. Every debate in the universe, from complacency to free agency. With over 2.5 million downloads, I'm your host, Maddox. With me is the Sultan of Swag, Mikey Bolts.
Hey, Maddox.
And as always, the Maharaja of Moderation, Rucka Ali.
Yo, yo.
Welcome back to the show. Guys, huge debate this week. This one's been a long time coming. But not just that, we have two guests this week. We have James Creech and welcome back to the show, Dreadmere.
Yeah.
Guys, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. What's happening?
James, now let's give you a little introduction. Are you the founder or the manager of a software management company?
Co-founder, CEO of Paladin. We build influencer management software for brands, agencies, and media companies.
Okay, so what does that mean to the layperson? Because we've got a lot of lay people listening to this show.
Sure.
Most of our fans are lay people.
Yeah. So, for a lot of brands or media companies that want to work with influencers, help them, promote content, we help them identify, manage those relationships, and run campaigns. Right. So pitch to a brand, for instance, and then also do the reporting on how social media performs across YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and now Twitch.
Now, you guys are the real deal because a lot of people call themselves influencers.
Sure.
Now, how do you determine between the real deal and, the real McCoy and the bullshit artist? Because there are people who just call themselves influencers when they have 10K YouTube subs or whatever. How do you distinguish between the two?
Yeah, well, first of all, we kind of leave it up to our client to determine who is influential, right? There are micro-influencers, which some brands prefer. We tend to work with folks that do talent representation, like an MCN, right? Awesomeness TV, Full Screen, Studio 71 are clients, or we'll work with people that are leveraging influencers for branded content promotions like Insomniac. So they kind of determine who they want to work with. Now, you raise an interesting point because there's been a lot of controversy recently about botted audience, right? So while we don't necessarily automatically detect for that today, it's something we're looking into, and the tech team is fascinated by, because you could just go out, start an Instagram account, buy a bunch of big fake followers, and start getting brand deals.
Yeah, that's a big problem. I think a lot of people are finding that. And the easiest way to spot this is the lack of engagement.
Exactly, right? So there's a lot of easy ways to spot it. You go on Twitter, and they're following a ton of people, but they don't have that many people following them.
Right.
Or
it's a big red flag.
Yeah, or you see that people have a lot of video views and no comments likes, no engagement, like you mentioned.
I've busted some companies who've done that in the past, where they'll have a video that has 3 million views, and I'll look at the comments, there's only 100 comments.
Yeah.
And maybe 2 shares. I'm like, there's no fucking way 3 million people watch this shit. Unless they're scripts in Russia.
Yeah, that's another good point. Is you look at the audience demographics, and if all the views are coming out of the Philippines or India, and it's supposed to be a U.S. English video,
big
you're in
problem.
trouble.
And speaking of the real McCoy, Dreadmere, welcome back to the show. So many of our listeners might not know this, but Dreadmere, you got your footing in the Vine era.
Yeah, that's where I started.
Yeah,
no robots were watching my videos that I know of. But yeah, no, I mean, it was most I had thousands of likes and hundreds of comments on a video that had 20,000 views. So it was pretty good. The ratio was there. But yeah, I mean, sometimes people do lose engagement over time, I guess, on Instagram. I don't get a lot of comments like I used to on Instagram. Some of my older ones have 200 comments, and my newer ones get 9 or 10. So it just kind of depends. But yeah, no, definitely you can tell if a video has 50,000 views and no comments, something's going on.
Yeah. Are you excited for Vine 2?
I want to play with it.
Well, hold on. What's Vine 2? Is this
what's Vine 2? Maddox, come on.
The real thing?
Yeah, it's one of the original Vine founders has gone off and been working away on it. He's done some announcements that Vine 2 or V2 is coming soon.
Yeah, I saw his posts on Twitter and stuff.
When has that ever worked, though? Announcing the next big thing. When did did MySpace 2 become popular? When they brought it back?
No, but MySpace 3.
Yeah, Justin Timberlake invested $100 million in bringing MySpace back.
That was
Terrible.
the relaunch, yeah.
Yeah, but nobody asked for MySpace back. People have been asking for Vine back for a long time.
All right.
I think, right? I mean, did you ask for MySpace back, or
I did? But that was the only one.
Well, what's interesting about the Vine model is that almost every social media platform out there has replicated it already.
Sure.
Snapchat is essentially the Vine model. It's 10-second videos that you watch, very short form content, and then Instagram created stories, so that's more short form content. And the Vine format itself, I think, originally came from this website called YTMND, which stands for You're the Man Now, Dog. Yeah, that was a website. This guy, I think his name is I forget it. Goldberg. He created this website where he isolated a clip from this movie. I forget which, but Sean Connery's in it, and he says, "You're the man now, dog." And he just played that clip on repeat, and the website got so much traffic. He created a format where people could isolate clips from movies and TV shows and songs and things like that, and it would just play on loop with a funny GIF or something like that. That was essentially the genesis of Vine.
I loved You're the Man Now, Dog. I remember seeing like in the rules of like what's allowed.
Right.
One of the things you were not allowed to do was extreme racism.
Oh,
That's when I realized
Moderate racism, fine.
So you're like,
that's when I
for you.
realized the internet. Yeah, it's a little racism's fine as long as it's not extreme.
That's
Casual.
right.
Well, speaking of, I don't know how that transitions into our debate topic, but maybe, because this week we're going to be debating, are smartphones making us dumber? Now, I want to go around the table. Let's hear everyone's buzzer. Here's mine. Dreadmere? Wrong! James? And Rucka. If you hear a buzzer from any of these fine gentlemen, that means someone has disagreed with someone else, or we would just want to chime in, point out a correction, anything of that nature. But James, as our first-time guest this week, I'm going to give you first stab at the debate. Are smartphones making us dumber?
Absolutely not. I don't think so, right? If you look at IQ scores over the past century, we've gradually been increasing as technology helps us improve. And I think that, true intelligence is not necessarily knowing everything, but it's knowing how to access it, knowing where to find it. And smartphones do that at our fingertips.
Wow. There's so much wrong with that. I don't even know where to begin. And Dreadmere, I'm going to give you a stab at the debate. Whose side do you fall on? Are smartphones making us dumber or smarter, or neither? What do you think?
They're making us smarter for sure. I'm gonna agree with James.
Gosh,
yeah,
that's right. Two in a row.
Yeah.
Rucka, you gonna fucking leave me here? You gonna dogpile on this?
As much as I'd like to, I would say neither.
Oh, okay, at least that's a different opinion. Great.
Sure.
Then we got three different opinions, three different
Status quo.
philosophies, and one of them is right. And I'm about to tell you which one is right because it's my opinion. I think they are making us dumber because the ability to access information, first of all, is not the mark of intelligence. Just because you can walk into a library doesn't make you smart. You can lead a horse to the river, but it's not going to drink necessarily, right? Just because someone has access to the Library of Congress on their phone, which we all do, nobody fucking checks it. Be honest, when's the last time anyone in this room has accessed the Library of Congress from their phone? That's what I thought.
Wait, do I get a straw man button too, or is that just for you? Because I feel
Straw-
like
you
you're
want a
not
straw-
talking about.
There you go.
I don't remember making the argument that having access to intelligence.
That's what James said.
Oh well.
So you don't necessarily agree with that argument. And
No,
the second point I disagree with, another James, is because IQ tests. You said that IQ overall has increased over time.
That's right.
Now, the tests have also changed over time. IQ is not a scientific measure. There is no standard IQ test, and you cannot control for every variable that you need to when it comes to testing people's intelligence. So I don't think that's an accurate measure, and I don't think that there is a correlation with IQ and smartphones. In fact, the opposite, if anything, because smartphones have made us lazier. They've made it so that we don't have to remember how to spell words anymore. They've made it so we don't have to remember phone numbers. Anyone born from the 90s remembers having to remember phone numbers. And we didn't have texts, we had pagers. And if you wanted your girl to come over for a booty call, you just had to text her urgently with 69, 69, 69.
Both ways in the snow. Keep going.
Pagers win in that, in that regard.
The Stone Ages with simple text 69, 69, 69.
Yeah. That's how people had to get laid in the 90s. Now you can send fucking nudes to people. You can see a preview of someone's junk, people's genitals. It's made us lazy, not only less intelligent, but lazier, more complacent. Rucka, you hate complacency.
Well, no, because now you're able to focus your energy on doing other shit if you choose to. It's like saying all technology makes us stupid.
Well, what have we freed up so much time for people to do?
Most of us, nothing positive. But
right.
If you want to do something with your fucking life, now you have to spend less time figuring out how to spell certain words or whatever it is that you say the smartphone took away our need to do, but you can say the same for any technology. The guy who invented fire made it so that we don't have to just sit around and wait for a fire to start naturally. We've gotten so lazy and complacent. The guy who started farming, agriculturally revolutionizing how we get our fruits and vegetables. He made us so lazy.
Wrong. And straw man argument, and I'll tell you why. Because I think that those marks in efficiency in our evolution, in our
It's not evolution, but go ahead.
Well, I would say it is evolution. Yeah,
inventing something is not evolution.
Well, it is because you're
adapting
to the
it's
environment.
somebody using their mind to do something.
It's evolving an era. Evolution is over time.
What's that, Mikey?
You're evolving. What I don't
All
know.
right,
I don't
okay.
wanna
Let's
fucking
let's
say.
pretend for a second that people consciously creating stuff is quote evolution.
Yeah.
What's your point?
Well, if monkeys start using tools, that's evolution. But if humans start using tools, that's not.
monkeys' ability to use tools was given by evolution, but whether or not they use tools is up to them, isn't it?
Oh, okay. Good distinction, Ruck. I'll give you that. But humans' ability to adapt to environments, I would say, is evolution. By the way,
I agree with that.
Oh,
just
great.
like the iPhone is part of our ability to adjust the environment.
okay, that's fine. So the argument is
Yeah.
that the agricultural revolution
Yeah.
did free us. did give us a lot more free time.
Uh-huh.
And with that free time, we did advance society. But now we've gone too far in the other direction, where we've freed up too much of people's time. And you know what they're doing with that time? Masturbating. That's it. That's the only thing people do online. What wrong? Why is that wrong, Dreadmere?
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, that's about right. So because we're so advanced, we're now suddenly you're saying
Masturbators.
we're like cavemen now. Essentially, that's what your argument.
No, but we're going too far in the other direction.
The cycle's regressive.
Yes, the cycle's regressive. Thank you, James. First right thing you said the entire podcast.
Well, here's where you're wrong. I mean, if
Yeah.
we think about the evolution cycles, right? I mean, it took us, thousands of years to get to the agricultural revolution. Then
Yes.
it took us maybe a few hundred years to get to the industrial revolution.
Well, that's
and then,
okay.
several
everything-
decades.
Okay.
Come on,
some
wait
fudge
for it.
numbers,
Get
but
into
sorry,
the technological
sorry to interrupt.
revolution,
I'm
right,
sorry.
with computers in the 70s, and now the smartphone revolution is happening even faster. So I think we're accelerating the rate of progress, and that is leading to more intelligence for the human species.
So you're saying it's advancing the intelligence of the species overall, aggregately.
Well, when we have more time for other things, right? Not everyone needs to be a farmer anymore. Not everyone needs to work in a factory. It
Right.
creates opportunity for
That's
people
the
to.
agricultural revolution. That's great. Smartphones aren't fucking taking farmers out of the field to free their time to go to colleges.
The agricultural revolution was what gave us farming, isn't it?
Okay,
The
I get-
industrial revolution made it so we didn't all have to be subsistence farmers. The computer revolution put a big goofy box in everyone's house that allowed them to create hateful websites hating on Tony Danza in the 90s.
Which is stupid because he's great.
Yes.
Rock, Mikey.
How's
Whatever
go
you call
ahead.
this revolution with the smartphones and shit, the tech revolution, I don't know, whatever, that took us to the next level.
It was a step in the wrong direction, step backwards. What happened?
So what's the perfect sweet spot between laziness and actual evolutionary innovation or whatever?
I think the last one, and by the way, Rucka, I will agree with your correction that it was the Industrial Revolution that got us to this next point. You're right about that. Now, the sweet spot, I think, was right around 2003 when the smartphones on the market still had buttons and still had keyboards and still made people think and still made people type. The reason your cell phones today can't last a day without recharging, whereas
Nice.
the cell phones of the 90s...
I thought it was just me and my iPhone, but it sounds like it's the same with Android.
It's a lot of smartphones are having
Good.
this problem.
Good to know. I'm not missing out on a great battery life.
Well, it's better on Android,
Yeah.
but it's still not good.
Finish your point, please.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to.
Go
if
ahead.
You could. So, the smartphones of the 90s would last sometimes 3, 4, 5 days on a single charge, and they were still smartphones, especially Nokia with the Symbian operating system. They had all the apps. The apps were very mature. They were great apps. They worked really well. And the best thing about them is they weren't constantly polling servers to download ads, which is part of the reason why your cell phone's battery life is being drained so quickly. That and also bigger screens and hash dictionaries. Now, hash dictionaries, a hash search, for people who don't know, is how you correct a word that you've typed wrong. Have you ever started typing the word where with the letter Q and your phone still figured out what you were trying to say based on the letters later on in the alphabet? Mm-hmm. The way that the computer program does that is it looks at every possible combination of words with nearby letters. So it's doing 5 different searches potentially to spell one fucking word because your fat fingers can't type on a flat screen. Mikey, you had an objection. It looked
like 10 years ago, so don't worry about it. No.
Well, so all that processing power is being wasted on your smartphones. That's why it's heating up. That's why it's wasting so much battery life.
You know, Albert Einstein said our technology has surpassed our humanity. I say our processors have surpassed our battery life. We need better batteries. That's all we need.
Well, it's not. I'm not saying.
It's true.
I'll agree. We need better batteries, but that's not all we need. We need a lot more.
What else do we need?
We need, first of all, ethics. I think ethics and etiquette.
But it's evolution. We don't have any choice. Listen.
The fuck. I never said. You know. Wrong.
Listen. How does this make us dumber?
Because people aren't having to use their brains to remember things anymore. That's the crux.
But
of
how
my
does
argument.
remembering phone numbers serve as a sign of intelligence?
Yeah.
Well, it exercises the part in your brain where you have to remember things. Nobody remembers anything anymore. Nobody even remembers a fucking person's name they met at a party a few seconds ago.
If you remember to charge your phone like you should, or have a portable charger in your backpack, you're the dumbass who fucked it up anyways. So in this day and age, you should know going outside how much battery you have. That's the difference. I don't know someone that has become so close to me's phone number. I call her all the time. You get it.
Yeah. By the way, in 2003, my friend used to write everyone's phone number on his bedroom wall. So
That's not weird.
Well, I mean, that's where our society was going anyway. So the fact that we're not remembering phone numbers doesn't really have to do with the technology we have.
Well, I think it does.
Yeah.
What do you have to remember anymore? You don't have to remember things anymore. You don't have to save things anymore. You don't have to. We've lost the importance of numbers and data, and that's making us dumber. And by the way, we have this amazing technology, these amazing processors. We have facial recognition, and what are people doing? They're putting their fucking face in a avocado toast on Snapchat with some stupid fucking filter. They're turning their heads into strawberries and pancakes.
That's what the filter's for. Why are you mad at that?
Yeah,
It's fun.
it's dumb as shit. Dreadmere, how's that making us smarter? Has anything good come about from the Facebook revolution?
I think, people are getting in touch with long-lost friends. I think people are finding online communities where, you live in a small town and you don't have access to people who think like you or look like you. And now you can be connected all over the world.
Yeah, because what happens on Facebook is when people disagree with each other, they're like, "Oh, thank you for the thoughtful feedback," and they don't just block or unfriend them.
When Facebook started a few years ago, it was much closer to that ideal. Now, the only things that get engagement on Facebook are extremism, right? It's sucking up into news and politics, and that's what alienates people.
It has really made it's brought out the worst in people. Facebook, I think, when it first started out, it was closer to, like you said, James, the mission, fulfilling the mission of bringing us together and sharing more information. These days, I don't post anything on Facebook. I don't want to. All it does is create acrimony and dissent and people looking to disagree with each other, and study after study after study keeps coming out that shows that people who use Facebook more, especially on our smartphones, are more depressed, are in worse mental health, and everybody's putting out a curated version of themselves. They're engineering an image. They're image crafting. Right, Dreadmere? How would you feel about that? Because you're giving me kind of a skeptical look.
I think it's just the way my head's turned. But it's that sounds completely wrong. I don't. So you're saying so you forget about like me or anything I feel about like my own life or motivations. It's because if we take the phones away, everyone's gonna be happier. That's what you're saying. The phones and the everything is making everyone depressed.
It is making people depressed, yes.
From a Facebook perspective, over the last 10 years, numbers and people's ideas of what their own value is based on numbers has shaped everyone's minds. So when you see somebody who gets posts and it is ingrained in your brain over time that if I get this many likes, my thought is validated, I think that's the real issue.
Yeah.
So your argument is that Facebook is making us more vain.
No, I'm saying that when the topic today is what our smartphones making us dumber. The problem is when you say us, I think that there's two sides to that. When you bring us together, everyone's like, us, humanity. But in us, there's a forward-thinking person and a dullard, as you would say.
Dullard, yes. I would say that.
So I'm saying that Facebook has brought out good and bad on both sides, but we always notice the bad because, and I just ran into some shit on TMZ the other day, and I went on their homepage. It's straight up just to get you to go, like, just total trash news.
That's what's making us dumber, TMZ.
And it's insane that that's what's control. It's scary because you see all these numbers, what they're able to do, and the power they have.
What do you mean by numbers, Mikey?
I'm talking, somebody posts this and it has 3 million views on it, or 3 million likes on it on Instagram. And then somebody else posts something that I find profound that I know from my childhood that gets, 13 likes or something.
So you're talking about the number of likes and engagement that
but I think
post gets.
Which seemingly is okay. But over time, I think it molds it puts something in our heads that changes, like, the way that we see.
The way that we validate each other.
Sure.
Why do you think that's wrong,
I
Dreadmere?
disagree with everything that's going on here between you two.
Yes.
Why, this is not new. This is not. There's been magazines showing, like these airbrush whatever, like hot chicks that made people feel
What
bad.
numbers are attached to that?
Well, the point is, you're saying if you look at something else and you're like, oh, I'm not that interesting. Not that many people appreciate my stuff. Therefore, I feel shitty. It's like that's not that mentality or that idea has been around for as long as media has existed. It's not.
Did you
phones.
watch TV as a kid growing up? Did you have a favorite show?
Yeah. It was
How many views did it get every
Full
week?
House. I don't know, but
Did it change
Full
the way?
House, hell yeah.
You had no idea. It was based on if it was good or not.
right.
Or
The
if it
fact-
was on TV at all.
Yeah, if it was on TV because there was a standard.
Yeah, but well, yes, exactly. But that means there was way fewer people that we could admire in the first place. Now you have regular people.
No. It goes through a funnel. It goes
Yeah.
through a funnel.
Yeah.
And it weeds out the people that shouldn't be there. And I'm saying the numbers
Sure.
themselves who put people on pedestals, like the 3 people that I could list right now.
Yeah.
It keeps those people out. It's the people that we don't need. The problem is we're living in the Wild West. And there is no ethics in the Wild West.
Right.
No ethics, and the TMZs shine, and the cunts shine, like the shitheads shine.
Yeah.
That's
and-
inspiring.
And thank you, Dreadmere.
No, I mean in the other way. I mean, if you're a cunt and you're shining, then all these other cunts can be like, oh my god, I can do it too.
Exactly.
Like with that never happened on Full House. I didn't see where there was a cunt on Full House and everybody's like that. Like that's what I'm saying. Is like there are people who probably don't necessarily deserve. I don't want to say deserve, but I would never expect to get the attention that they get, and that's like great for me because then it's like, oh well, I can do it. But also other people who might feel shitty about the way they look. It's like there's all these different social media influencers. You probably know. You've met all kinds of different brand guys, and you can do it. You can look at them and be like, I can do it. I can do it too. It was before like so limiting. Like you're right, it wasn't a funnel, but I'm saying that's a good thing. Like that more average people are famous.
Oh boy, wrong. I cannot disagree harder.
Okay.
If I could disagree any harder, there'd be a singularity in this studio. Now, here's the problem with that. In everybody trying to outshine each other, it has created a race to the bottom, where everybody is trying to do the next most extreme thing. Everybody is trying to outperform, outshine, out-yell each other, and it has tended, the entire social media, our entire online ecosystem has tended towards extremism.
That's a cultural problem. It's not an iPhone problem.
Well, I think that the way that first of all, is everyone in this room familiar with the experiments that Facebook conducts on its user base? Is everyone? So what I'm talking about is Facebook a few years back got in a lot of trouble. They got a lot of heat because they were actively curating the feeds to see if they could change people's moods, and they were doing it to see if they could make people depressed or make people happier.
Wow.
Yeah, this is a lot of people haven't heard about this, especially in the studio. But Facebook got a lot of heat for this because they're doing social engineering experiments on their user base without telling them. And where this crossed the line, a lot of people argued, was that sometimes people are on the verge of suicide or depression. And when you curate the feed for them in a way, to conduct your little experiment to see if you can make people sadder, well, sometimes that experiment may lead to somebody ending their life. And it's really difficult sometimes to show causation, but the argument can be made that could have happened and may have actually happened. So we are putting into the hands of people this tool, this smartphone, with access to this app that is having very real effect on our lives, very real repercussions. It is making us more depressed. Every time you guys can't sleep, everybody's guilty of this, myself included. If you can't sleep, what do? You roll over, you pick up your phone, and you shine this laser beam into your eye, and then you walk around groggy with circles under your eyes all fucking day because you're staring at your screen all night. What, Rucka?
I don't even bring my phone by my bed anymore.
Good. But I will say
Smart.
this. Here's the problem with smartphones, too, is it is made us engage less with each other.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone on dates before, and I have this policy sometimes with people I date. I say, look, let's have a no cell phone night where we either leave the cell phone in the cars or we promise to each other we're not going to bring it out. Because I've been on dates before where the girl whips out her cell phone, and I'm like, all right, well, guess I got a cell phone too, idiot. Like, we can just both be on our cell phones and be disengaged with each other. Doesn't that also speak to intelligence? Like, as a species, why are we doing this? Is it a smart thing to do to disengage with people we're in the same room with?
Especially based on what is happening in the room. When you look at their phone and it's like maybe it's something important, but it's scrolling a feed. It's to see what else could be out there than the person that's in the room,
right?
Based on the content of whatever you're.
Maybe the people we're in a room with could do more to be a more interesting person.
I got a perfect example to counter that, Rucka. I was in a Mediterranean restaurant one time, and this music was playing. This guy did this. He was playing, I think, a lute or some stupid shit. But he was playing this instrument, and he was fucking wailing, and he did this amazing solo. And it was kind of like a jazz set where after a solo, you expect the audience to clap or at least notice. He finished his solo. He finished his set, and I looked around the room, and not a single fucking person looked up. No one clapped. No one even noticed.
Where was your applause?
He was on his phone.
He was in shock.
I did applaud, but nobody noticed. Nobody cared. And that, to me, that moment right there defined loneliness. When you are playing an amazing guitar solo or some, lute or whatever.
Goddamn lute.
Yeah. It was a Greek restaurant, Mikey.
It was a bouzouki. I didn't want to say it. But
is that what it is?
Was,
A bouzouki?
Yeah.
That's
but
a
I
fun
wanted
name.
to hear you say lute.
Bouzouki.
So I feel even worse that nobody clapped because he was playing a bouzouki.
Yeah.
What is it?
Those are hard, and they're hard to play. They're double stringed on one string.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Wow.
Well,
Fun
maybe
fact.
maybe people were glued to their phone because they're so used to not really seeing anyone do anything like that.
Yeah.
The
True.
personality equivalent of that wailing at the Mediterranean restaurant at the bouzouki.
I think Maddox knew it was a Greek place. He just didn't say it at first.
Yeah, it was Mediterranean food, but I pieced it together. I think he was a Greek guy. But so James, how again is this making us smarter? Why do you think this is making us smarter?
I think it comes back to the original point that with more time, people have more ability to explore an interest and do things that are productive to advance society. Now, they don't always choose to use that time productively, but now that we're afforded more of those options, we can. And having access to the right information, I think people are more engaged. We've also seen this culture where not all of the information is delivered from the big TV networks anymore, right? It's not Fox or Disney or ABC, programming Full House. It's you can get access to alternative news or alternative perspectives on the internet, and that comes through smartphones.
Okay, that's a huge problem. I was about to bring this up because with the dissemination of information is also the dissemination of false information, which, sorry, Donald Trump, who's sitting in the corner of the room on his stool eating Skittles, there's a lot of fake news going around.
It's okay, Maddox. I'm fine with it.
Oh,
I start things and I don't finish them. That's just okay with me.
Yeah, well, I would say that, Mr. President, that part of the reason that a lot of people are so misinformed and not getting smarter is because of the dissemination of fake news, and people can pick and choose which outlets they want to believe.
Because of the abundance of information that we have. Everything is there. So, yes, there are wrong things, but you can check those wrong things, find out for yourself if it's right or not.
Well,
you
who
can do
does?
all of
Nobody
that.
wants to do that.
But
Why
that's
not?
what people need to learn. We need to learn how to discern what is truth and what is false, and what we believe and what we don't.
No, what we need to do is make the phone make us smarter by telling us what is right.
The
and,
phone's
and
never
then,
gonna
and then
make
take
you
the phone away, right, Maddox? I'm making Maddox's argument right now.
Yeah, maybe the phone, maybe the next generation of iPhone will be able to actually tell us which news is fake and which isn't.
That's what Facebook's currently doing. What do you want to say, Mr. President? Or Mikey?
They weren't called smartphones before I got on Twitter, okay? Now that you follow me, it's one of the many amenities.
Now it's a genius phone.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dreadmere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Mr. Trump, you a while back you said that you're one of the smartest people.
Yes.
You have the best words.
Yes.
Do you attribute any of that to the advent of smartphones and the propagation,
Not at all.
proliferation
no,
of
sir,
smartphones?
no Maddox. I knew all those words way before, probably in the 80s.
Now, is
when
it
I was
a good?
killing it?
Is
and I'm
it a
still killing it.
good? Well,
Yep.
well.
There I am. Look at me on the wall there,
Yeah.
next to Bush and the other ones.
I don't think you're next to Bush. You would be next to Obama because he preceded you.
Look, we all see things differently, okay?
Oh, do we? What do you think of his new portrait, Mr. Trump? President Trump, sorry. What do you think of
Thank
Obama's new portrait that came out? A lot of people had opinions on it because it was kind of different. What do you think of his portrait?
I keep that in a file folder under my desks.
His
when I'm
portrait?
working. Yeah, and then I put it up when I have to make speeches and stuff.
Oh, okay. Just like a
But
print of it, or
Yeah.
yeah.
I can't do that.
Look, Maddox,
Yeah.
I gotta go. Okay,
Oh,
I've got
okay.
Skittles on the run. That's why
Okay.
I'm wearing this pouch.
All right,
Okay.
Donald Trump. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
But back to the debate of whether or not smartphones are making us smarter. Is you said James that more access to information is better, and that's that seems like a nice thing, but it has created a monster with the proliferation of fake news and quote alternate news sites. And what it has done is given us too many options. People aren't challenging themselves. They don't want to be proven wrong, because when you're proven wrong, it feels like an attack. It feels like you did or believed something dumb, and no one wants to feel that way. So when you read a news story that reaffirms your worldview, it makes you feel good. But when you read one that doesn't, when you read one that contradicts your preconceived notions or your beliefs, it makes you feel bad. Nobody wants to feel bad voluntarily. Nobody goes out to have a bad time. So I don't think it's going to move society towards being more informed, but rather less. We are choosing to believe rather than choosing to know. Why do you disagree?
So wrong. So look, you get to react to any sort of information or experience that you have. You choose how you feel, right? People should be trying to find a way to interpret a lot of information, be open to different perspectives. If you just are trying to seek out information that aligns with your previous viewpoint, I mean, you're never going to be opened up to other perspectives.
Right, but that's what people do most of the time online.
Well, most people are fucking stupid and should not be. You're acting like they have no choice. He's talking about choice. He lives in the world of creation. This guy creates the technology that you use to spread the message of impotence.
I don't like that. Nobody laughed. Mikey, edit these laughs out of the
They're
episode.
all gone.
Thank you.
You guys are done.
James, have you ever been wrong about anything other than everything you said in this episode?
Not at all.
But seriously, have you ever found something that you believed to be true, and then
Have I
later
changed
on,
my perspective on something?
Yes,
Have I
yes.
changed my mind about
Yeah.
something? Yeah, absolutely.
Do you recall?
Now you're going to make me think of an example,
It's
aren't
like
you?
religion, pretty much.
By the way, were we doing a second debate or just one?
I think just the one, because this
Okay,
is turning
sorry.
out pretty
I think this is
meaty. Yeah.
good.
Okay.
Yeah. So I asked this question on Facebook a while
Yeah.
back because I'm genuinely curious. I don't have a very optimistic point of view on people's ability to read.
That's right. You're right about that. Yeah.
Fuck you, Dreadmere. I don't have a very optimistic point of view on people's ability to change their minds when they are confronted with right evidence or evidence that contradicts their worldviews. And Rucka, you're shaking your head. Why do you disagree?
You always talk about people like they're chimpanzees, like the dumbest guy you ever met represents all of humanity.
It's not the dumbest guy, Rucka. These are just common people.
Yes, and common people can fuck off. These are not smart people. They're not the ones who drive history. They need high IQ people like yourself to tell them they are good enough to think, rather than tell them that the unimpressive, mediocre person they are today is all they ever could be.
I asked a very simple question, Rucka,
Yes,
of
what
my
question?
fans. I just said, have you ever had your opinion changed based on any kind of argument or debate you've ever had on the internet? And what was heartbreaking is I would say about 70% said no. And this is something that goes back to just the fundamentals of who we are as people. How about you, Rucka?
Can't imagine why your fans would not be the type that ever admit they're wrong. Yes, go
It's
ahead.
not just that, though. Let me ask you this.
Mhm.
If you have a belief, do you
Yeah.
ever seek out a contradictory point of view?
Sure. Why wouldn't you?
I mean, if some...
Well, thank you, thank you,
you.
Rucka number 2.
Sorry.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess I'm taking you to. Yeah,
When evidence presents itself, we have. I mean,
it won't present
We've
itself.
all been
Do you
on a
seek it
journey,
out?
right?
No, the question is,
Yeah.
do you seek out information that
Yes,
contradicts
I
your...
try to find out is this thing true. So I look to see what people have said against it, and I look for debate. That's why I'm a fan of this show.
Okay, well, that's fair. That's fair. Rucka, very smart.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
Yeah. But I don't think most people do that. And by the way, I'm not, most people are not like us. Everyone in this room.
We're the philosopher kings. It always comes back to the fact that the average peasant is not good enough to think. Go ahead.
It's not that they're not good enough. It's that they're, to quote you, choosing not to, Rucka.
So So don't make excuses for them. Don't say that they had to be this way.
But here's the thing that separates us from them.
Us.
And I'm talking about us as content creators, as people who work in this industry, as people who they're listening to.
This guy's Alec Baldwin in Team America. Yes, go ahead.
Anyway,
Yes.
the difference between us and them is that you and I, Rucka,
Yes.
and Mikey, and Dreadmere, and James, we work in an industry where we deal with ideas.
Oh.
Yeah, and most people don't. Most people aren't in the... No, most people
No, they're
aren't
too busy
having
actually
debates.
doing shit. They're working
That's
a machine.
my point. You're making my point for me, shithead. But what I'm saying that most people are too fucking busy to sit down and pursue intellectual pursuits and sit down and just have a fucking philosophical debate and thought
You
and really
live
research.
in the world of ideas, and you have all the wrong opinions.
I know I don't have the wrong opinions.
Your line of work doesn't determine whether or not you're going to think clearly or not.
If you are working 14 hours a day digging ditches, you don't have time to
very
research.
Very common line of work in America today.
Have
Most
full-time
people
jobs.
spend 14.
Most people have full-time jobs, do they not?
Yes, right? Most people work.
Who buzzed?
I buzzed.
Why, James?
Well, first of all, I'm curious how big a ditch you could dig in 14 hours.
That's what I want to know.
Let's do the math.
Yeah.
They dig ditches.
And
need
secondly,
the world
why
needs
is it an us versus them thing? Who are these fictitious groups that we're constructing? Why can't everyone have access to the information and be taught to choose and make good choices?
Well, okay, look, let's work this backwards, okay? Let's say that everything you're saying is right, that people have access to more information, and
There we go. That's the show.
they
Thank you.
can- and they can choose, and that they'll eventually make the right choices. How come it hasn't happened? How come it's not happening?
Because we have a highly nihilistic culture of people who say that being a victim or being losing something or having less than others makes you better, or you deserve things that you didn't work to get.
Correct.
So
I'll give you that.
that's not phones though.
Okay.
to bring it back on
well,
the
hold
debate,
on. Where did this idea come from, and how is it getting propagated?
Where did victimhood come from? The idea,
Why,
like,
why are we in a culture of victimhood, Dreadmere? Why is everyone tripping over themselves to be the biggest fucking victim?
Because we're downstream from a lot of guilt that comes downstream from a lot of religion that we're still getting rid of, which is something like saying that you doing things like wanting for yourself or taking for yourself are bad. You should feel guilty for that. That does come from Catholicism and Christianity.
Oh, please. I don't buy that at all. We are in the most secular society we've ever
Maybe
been
now,
in.
but we're just phasing into an atheist where most people are starting to become atheist and talk about it. But for
Well,
the
then you
past
just
40
contradicted
years,
yourself, because we are tending more towards victimhood, not less, and we're becoming more secular and yet more victim.
We may be more atheistic, but our ethics are every bit as religious today as they were back in the Dark Ages.
There you go.
And everyone's always been this way when they have problems. They just want someone to listen. There's just a bigger platform for people to listen to it now. Their shit, their things that they're annoyed about with after work, that they can put it on Facebook and then twist other people's views, like by throwing in Trump in there and shit like that. I think that the world's been burning, right?
Yeah.
It's always been burning. But when you give them a megaphone, you're going to hear all the shit that people were always hearing in smaller groups. Now it's blasted. And the problem when we say us is, and as a clumped in humanity, is the reason why there's not a solution right now is because the bad is being TMZ. I'm going to use TMZ as a verb right now. They're just TMZing the shit out of everything right now. They are fucking them all in the ass. But the forward thinkers, the reason that this revolution that you're looking for hasn't come yet is because A, it will, and second, the people who are going to do it are quietly and not telling us about their dentist appointment and how they almost touched their boobs and like, oh, they're pushing us in that direction. It's going to happen. It's going to be in the textbook, and there's going to be an end date when we were all like, remember when this, and we didn't know. So just, it's coming.
What's going to happen? What's coming?
I can't tell you.
Mikey.
You're so cool, Mikey.
No, don't you dread me.
No, I like it when you talk. I'm
Don't-
like, hell, I wish I
okay.
talked like that.
No.
That's
no,
so
you
cool.
don't dread me.
Well, listen, I think that we just have to take a look at where society is tending, why we are in this culture of victimhood, and we are. I do feel like, and by the way, I hate that phrase, culture of blah, blah, blah. I used to think that it was a good thing that everyone should have the ability to express themselves. Just fundamentally, great, everyone should express themselves. And then the social media era came. I actually wrote about this in my book. I think it's called Fuck Your Shitty Opinions. Because what happened is, when people had the ability to spout off, turns out that a lot of people aren't unique thinkers. They don't have anything new to add. They're just repeating things that they all either A, already believe, or B, just heard and want to believe. And what happens is we get these little niches in social media and society where like-minded people just clump together. So someone added me to a group on Facebook, a Trump group, and I just stayed in the group. I'm curious to see what happens. And right at the very top, it says no anti-Trump shit in here. So all these people are just posting shits like, yeah, liberals do this, yeah, liberals do that, and they're just shitting, but nobody is challenging them. They're not even attempting to seek out contrary information. They've banned it from their groups.
They don't understand the importance of wanting to be challenged. You can live in an echo chamber if you choose to, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's forced upon you. Like we can't go outside of it.
It's not forced upon you, but it is made. It has made echo chambers more
That was
easy.
a Facebook group dedicated to liking Trump, so they don't want their private Facebook group to have any contrary information. Just like if you have a Maddox fan club, you might not want a bunch of anti-Maddox shit to be posted on there, or whatever the topic is. Like that, you're using this one Facebook group as just a symbol of humanity.
I encourage dissent when it's somebody who is actually disagreeing with my opinions.
Disagree
right?
with the position, not the person.
Yes.
Yeah.
If there is somebody who has a disagreement with me, a philosophical disagreement, great. I'm there to engage with you. If somebody is there to just hate on me and bring negativity into a group, and it's clear that this person wants they're not there to be persuaded or persuade, they're just there to bring down the mood and the atmosphere and the environment, that's when I think, okay, well, this person is in the wrong place.
That's fair.
Right?
It comes back to the fact that social media just exacerbates extremism, right? That's
Yes.
what gets engagement
Yeah.
online. It's the same thing that happens in politics, right? You look at this, every time there's primaries, the politicians go and kind of beat the extremist end of the spectrum, right? Conservatives are ultra-conservative, liberals are very liberal, because that's who turns out to vote in primaries. And then they both kind of start to shift to the middle of the spectrum when you get to the general election. Yeah. But we don't have much moderate perspective and voices in the conversation today. Yeah. And that's the shame of it, right? Is that the extremists get this engagement and are listened to and create this, the people feel victimized by these very strong opinions, and the people who hold reasonable, moderate perspectives aren't being vocal about it.
Yeah.
Well, moderate perspectives are very boring. I think like listening to both extreme perspectives and then coming up to whatever you want is probably a more interesting way to do it, probably a better way to do it. But yeah, that's why the news is the way it is, right?
A moderate perspective from what we know politics are perspective is boring, but a moderate perspective from I picked this from what everyone would love from the Republican side. I picked this from because that's who I am. I'm not trying to sell anyone. Nowadays you got to be a Republican and maybe you believe most of it, but you don't believe one or two things. You know what I mean? I think that a moderate doesn't have the tools in the earliest stages where they are supposed to be weeded out. But in reality, I hope we find a way to meet in the middle. Because I think it's silly that people could follow a political party blindly.
I'll give you one of those and one of these, because I think because of what James you touched on this point, which is it's not giving people who are moderate a reward.
Because there's no incentive.
There's no
incentive. They don't make money, right?
They don't
you
get
think
clicks,
about
they don't
news
make-
networks,
right.
think about online sites.
Right.
They make money because they cater to an extreme viewpoint, which
Right.
is, what's going to drive monetization. It drives clicks, it drives activity.
MSNBC has become far more liberal. CNN has become more liberal over time. Fox News is completely conservative, and you read the comment section, and it's just like an echo chamber.
But this goes back to phones because we're watching this happen on our
Because
phones.
it has made it easier for A, bad information to disseminate, B, like-minded people to clump together and filter out people who disagree,
Okay.
and it has made us more insular. It has made us more stratified. It has made us more discreet as a society, to the point where I don't think people are having genuine conversations anymore. If you're a conservative, then your opponent in the debate is going to push you to the most conservative point of view they can possibly do, which, by the way, isn't even accurate. But if you're a conservative, you're a Nazi, right? You're a fascist.
Yes.
If you're a liberal, you're a communist. And that's how we view people. It's no longer, there is no middle ground. There is no discussion anymore. It's labels. Everybody's just going to labels. Everybody's just dismissing everyone's point of view. Oh, he's so and so, or she's so and so. Whereas the truth of the matter is, most people who have any kind of political beliefs tend towards the middle of the spectrum. I just did a political test just the other day on I think politicalcompass.org, and my results came out right in the middle, and people criticized me. They said, "Oh wow, what a radical centrist you are! What a fence-sitting coward!" It's not fence-sitting, shitheads. If you're in the middle, that doesn't mean you just have moderate views down the line. You can have opinions on the left and right that you strongly agree with that cancel each other out in terms of a political compass.
Yeah, because the political compass is stupid.
Well, that's fine. What's a better tool to use then?
What's true versus what's not true.
Oh, okay. Well, some people would argue that the political compass is a form of telling your opinions. I mean, what's true and what's not true? You act like there's like an objective truth.
There you
There
go.
it is.
Ooh, Sorry for coming on the show. Listen, this whole 5 minutes ago, you were telling me, yeah, well, most people choose not to think, right? They could, and you just now you're perpetuating this point of view that there is no objective point of view.
That's not what I said.
What did you say?
I said that some with opinions, with political opinions, for example, that a lot of them you act like that there is an objective truth. Like, for example, should we have public schools? What's the objective truth of that?
No.
Okay. Well, okay. If that was an objective truth, Rucka, no one could disagree with you.
Well,
no one could disagree with you, and yet, like, most people probably do.
They can have the wrong opinion.
Why is it wrong?
Because to take somebody's money away to pay for someone else's mediocre education is a violation of that first person's rights.
Well, some people would argue that it's a violation of human rights to let people go uneducated.
Well, that's a made-up concept of, quote, human rights that don't rest on any philosophical base.
Well, what's the philosophical base of arguing that you shouldn't take money away
That
to
in
educate
order
people?
to live on Earth, you have certain requirements to live, including to think and to act. And then for someone to come in and take away the fruits of your labor is to violate those rights.
But
Tell me the base for free education. Tell me the human right that where that comes from.
You just said the human right, the right to be educated.
That's
the
not
right to be intelligent.
No, that doesn't make any. The right to think and act is what you need to do to live. To have someone else's stuff taken away is not something you require to live.
Okay, if you have an uneducated populace, you
Mhm.
have an enslaved populace. You have a
Wrong.
populace that can't think. You have a populace that can't vote. You have a populace that can't compete in the marketplace. And if you don't have if you don't have just a baseline of education in society, this problem of people not thinking is going to be exacerbated.
Then sounds like society has a problem.
Yeah, well, so you're saying that this objective truth
Mhm.
that education should not be free
It should not be
or public,
Right,
publicly
yeah.
funded, right?
right.
But you're saying that's an objective truth, but it's not. It's a subjective one. It's your opinion.
Okay, listen. You 5 minutes ago you were wondering, well, why is it that most people have become so stupid? Why is it everyone's just act playing the victim over Facebook. And I'm telling you, we have done away with reason. The fact that you keep saying there is no objective truth.
I didn't say there is no objective
You
truth.
just tell me.
Again.
You sold me twice. You
No.
act like there's an objective truth.
There is objective truth.
Oh, now there is?
There is.
About a minute ago, you said
Rucka,
there's not.
Can you?
No, I can't. I'm not as smart as you. Please educate me.
I want you to entertain the two following ideas.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to condescend, but
No, never.
there is objective truth
Yes.
and there is subjective opinions.
Right.
Okay. Those two things can exist.
They do both.
There are a lot of
exist.
objective truths in the world. In fact, I read this book a long time ago called How to Think About Weird Things. I highly recommend people read this book. It's very interesting. It talks about...
I already don't recommend people read that book.
Why?
How to think about weird things?
Yeah.
Sounds like a waste of time already. But no, go ahead and promote it now. Sorry, now that I go ahead and promote it, yeah.
Well, Dreadmere, you would probably benefit from reading this book because it encourages people not to dismiss ideas outright without having at least considered them.
Good point.
But this book, in the first chapter, says that a lot of people talk about how there is no objective reality. And it says that's nonsense. That's horseshit. There is an objective reality, but there's also subjective opinions. When it comes to politics, when it comes to discussing, like, for example, here's another one that's a subjective opinion. Should consenting adults be allowed to own and view pornography?
Yes.
Everyone says yes. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And yet, a lot of people would disagree with that.
They're wrong.
Look, Rucka.
Listen, you're giving you're giving everyone the key to the fucking bulldozer. You're telling everyone your opinion is just as valid as everyone else's
I'm
opinion.
not saying that.
So anyone who says that consenting adults are not free to purchase a picture of another consenting adult boning another consenting adult, anyone who says you are not free to do that is telling other people what to do with their fucking life.
Okay, but we're talking about opinions. And
Right, but opinions aren't. That's the difference. You're saying, okay, subjective opinions and objective reality. But subjective, just because you can have those two different lines of thinking, but that doesn't mean they're right. Subjective opinions they can be right, but they're probably wrong, like in this case.
Okay, that's a really easy one, though. But what about gay marriage? There are a lot of people who... Look, I'm in favor of gay marriage, and I think most modern
very
people...
bold position in 2018.
I'm not claiming it's a bold position, shithead. I'm just saying that in spite of that, a lot of people are in favor of gay marriage, but a
Yes.
lot of people are not.
Because
You're
it's the
wrong.
same line
Jesus
of thinking.
Christ.
You have to use the same line of thinking for pornography as gay marriage. If you say it's wrong to tell people they can't make or watch porn because you're telling them what to do with their life, apply that same line of thinking to gay marriage. Why is it wrong for me to tell them to not get married? Because I'm telling them what to do with their life. It's the same line of thinking. You can apply it to different things, though.
Okay, well, what about...
Here's one.
Yeah,
what
go
about whether people should vaccinate their children?
There you go. That's a great one. So what do you think, Rucka?
I think the science indicates that the risks of vaccinating are very low. If the evidence suggested that it is dangerous to vaccinate, I can understand why parents would not want to do it.
A very moderate opinion.
It's not moderate at all. It's saying parents should vaccinate.
So you're saying you think that people should be forced to vaccinate their kids?
That's a tough one for me to answer.
Okay. Well, there we go.
Well, that's a
There's one that's up for
very
debate.
specific instance where we're talking about how parents should treat kids in certain situations, and I'll have to defer to legal scholars for certain scenarios. But if you're just acting like every particular situation, from public schooling to vaccination and everything in between, is just every opinion is subjective. You're
I
the
didn't
one.
say that. I never
You're
said
the
that.
one saying that there is no objective truth.
I
You're
didn't
the
say
one
that.
then who's distraught at the fact that people on Facebook are playing the victim and acting irrational when you are the one telling them that rationality is impossible.
I think we need to get a legal scholar on the show.
Yeah.
I mean, you keep saying you keep like lumping me into this person who's like an absolutist, but I'm not. I don't have extreme points of view. I mean, I do.
I'm saying you're not an absolutist. That's the problem.
No,
Go ahead. Finish your sentence.
It's an ad hominem attack.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a big.
Now I feel bad.
Good, you should. What were you going to say, Mikey? You looked like you had something to say.
Talking about...
We were talking about vaccinating kids and subjective versus objective opinions. Now, that's one... I'm glad you brought that up, James, because I would say that is equivalent to the argument that people say that kids should be publicly educated. And the argument is that if you don't, it's a form of child abuse. You are crippling them intellectually and cognitively by not giving them an education. This problem that we have in society of people's lack of ability to think, to reason, to make right choices, it comes from a lack of education
No,
and a lack of.
It comes from you trying to engineer society and take and violate some people's rights to provide others with things they don't want.
Yeah, it's a big problem, huh,
It is.
Rucka?
It actually
and
is.
yet, in spite of it, we are in the greatest era of prosperity.
All right, 5
the
seconds
greatest
ago-
area. Hold on, let me finish.
All right.
We are in the greatest era of prosperity, the greatest
yeah.
era of peace we've ever had. We have gone, 60, 70 years without a world war. There, relatively speaking.
First off, we've had like 7 or 8 optional wars that we lost each one of them. So I wouldn't brag about not having gone to war this whole time.
I said world
Second
war.
of all, as you've clearly articulated this whole episode, we're in one of the most irrational periods in Western history. I wouldn't really then use that as an argument to say that.
What do you want to say, Mike?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, it feels like it's more of a transitional period from that crazy World War II era where we're like, we have a bomb and we're going to fucking use our bomb. Now it's this new world where, and to tie it back to what you were saying with the whole our smartphones making us dumber thing, it's like with what you were saying about Zuckerberg putting the things in the feeds, or what is it to
Make you depressed. or
To
whatever.
engineer people's
Human
moods
emotions.
and emotions.
to engineer people's moods, treating them like pawns, really.
Yeah.
Which is what you do in any war, which we still have done, in recent years with wars. But with that, they tested the waters, the social media waters. What could they get away with by using these people who have come to us and need help and want to? Does that make sense? Like
The notion that warfare has changed, that it's not necessarily fought on the battlefield, in
that
the
both
sense, but
sides on the top are treating both sides on the bottom like the pawns that they think they are, and can test the waters and see how this engine goes. And if it even does go, maybe if we drop troops here, this will happen. Maybe if we put this ad here, these people, these human lives that are not really people to us up at the top.
Well, by the way, these people up at the top, don't they use Facebook? Don't they have their mood altered by social media?
They can filter it out.
Aren't they glued to their smartphone?
Well, yeah, and actually many of them from the top, the actual engineers at Facebook and Google, have recently come out. And you should look up these articles. They've actually recently come out and said that these tools that we've created has made the world a worse place.
Oh, well, if they say it.
Well, if the people who created it say it, yeah.
They get to decide if people's lives are better or worse.
Combined with the fact that study after study shows that we are more cumulatively
How
more
do you
depressed.
trust these studies if everyone's glued to their smartphone and getting dumber?
In all fairness, I did
These
see
aren't
the video that I...
Wait, hold on. The people conducting these studies, aren't they dumber than ever with these social media addiction?
Again, you got to understand the difference between every and some, okay?
Uh-huh.
Not everyone who uses Facebook is a fucking dullard. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's only the argument you've basically been implying.
No, I didn't say that. I said aggregately, shithead. I see the majority of people who use their cell phones too much are getting dumber. I have seen no evidence that anyone's gotten smarter from using a cell phone, unless they're reading me.
we're conflating a lot of things here.
Okay, what do you want to say, James? Let's wrap this up. Final arguments. Why are smartphones making us smarter?
I think in aggregate, people having more options is a good thing, right? And we've seen not just in the U.S., but if we think about it globally, for instance, we've skipped entire generations of technology in some places, and in developing countries now they have access to information for education, for better political understanding, and that is better for humanity.
Interesting. Have you ever heard of the paradox of choice?
Sure.
So you think that you'd still think with the paradox of choice, which, by the way, if you guys aren't familiar, it's basically the paradox where if you present someone with more choices to make, like, for example, more choices of cereal, more choices of jam, etc., the choice that they eventually make, they will be less satisfied with than if they had fewer options. And that's the paradox of choice. I think what we are dealing with today is the biggest paradox of choice. We have more news available to us at our fingertips than ever before, more opinions, more voices, and some of those are bad. I would say most of them are bad.
And that's what people need to learn to adapt to, right? They need to learn how to make the choices, how to think, not just be taught, that this is the right path.
Well, no one can force you to teach it. You teach your children anything, James. You can raise kids to be morons if you want. You can raise kids to be creationists. You can raise kids to have whatever crazy beliefs and be and not have them vaccinated. Like, we shouldn't take away anyone's personal freedoms, right? Is that what you argue, Rucka? Or you're saying no education for kids?
I didn't say I didn't give a certain answer about vaccination. I'm leaning towards yes, kids should be vaccinated. For sure, like parents should not be able to expose their kids to diseases. In other words, parents should be forced to. vaccinate their kids, but I'm having a hard time giving an empirical answer until I've thought about it.
Well,
more.
it comes back to subjective opinion versus objective truth, right? If the science says that kids that are vaccinated, the risks are lower of them becoming sick or dying than if they were to get vaccinated, then do you feel that that's an objective truth that everyone should be vaccinated? And also that decision can have impacts on others, right? If you don't get vaccinated and you're carrying a disease,
I definitely agree with all of that. Yeah. When you frame it as should parents be forced to do X, I'm hesitant to answer it right away, but I am leaning towards that. But the good thing is I don't need to answer that right now since I have no control over it whatsoever.
Well, let's just go around the table. I just as a quick curiosity, and Dreadmere, I want to hear your final thoughts too on this smartphone debate, but just a quick curiosity. What news source do you trust around the table? Let's just hear one. I'll start. I'll say NPR or BBC. What news source do you guys trust?
None of them.
Okay, great. So it's be completely skeptical.
I don't know.
It's not a blanket statement, right? There are a lot of contributors to a news source, so you should kind of weigh everything.
Isn't that the point of this? Is that we're supposed to have multiple sources, right?
Well, true, but if you are going to read a headline or you're going to read about something that happened in the news, say the Florida shooting that just happened. Okay, what's the first news source that you would think to go to or that you would trust? If it came to you from this news source, you would say, okay, it's probably accurate. It's probably vetted. More often than not, they get it right than wrong.
I like what the Young Turks are doing.
Which one?
The Young Turks.
The Young Turks. Okay, Dreadmere?
I guess if I saw it on like the Huffington Post.
Huffington Post. Interesting. And Rucka?
I just said none of them.
None of them?
I guess for the facts themselves, maybe I would go with NPR just because like they're pretty open about their left-leaning bias.
Okay.
They don't try to frame it as news maybe like some of the other news sources.
Okay, Mikey?
I think if it's news worth knowing, then people put their TMZ type shit aside and tell the real news, and I just go to whatever.
You gotta pick one, Mikey.
Well, do I though? Because if it's a school shooting, then it's a school shooting, and nobody cares about how many inches Kim K's ass got in the last 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. So nobody fucking cares, and that's the news. If you go down the news feed on your iPhone, Maddox,
yes, Mike.
There will be enough and they'll be developing stories, and that's how I get my news. Mm-hmm. I have to develop my own story because none of these fuckers do it their own way, so I can know that there's one trusted source.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay,
that's so cool. That was cool.
Yeah.
I just think Mikey's cool. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm cutting all that out, Dreadmere.
Yeah. Well, maybe that'll be the second part of the vote.
Is Mikey cool?
That's
Mikey
the topic.
Cool, Is Mikey cool or not?
Is Mikey cool?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll ask that.
Disagree.
Don't do it.
Come on, Dreadmere, let's go.
Okay. Well, so I think this question, just proved the problem with getting information in the social media era. I asked a question about where you guys get your news from, and I got 4 different answers. I think Rucka and I both agreed with NPR. Interestingly enough.
Yeah, but like for what do you actually need to know?
You need to know current events. You need to
know
which
current events?
Like for school shootings, for example.
Okay, pretty much all the news sources tell you what happened, and then some of them will say he was alt-right. Another one will say he was far left. Like, people will try to put their spin on it at a certain point. But if you need to know if there was a school shooting, you could pretty much get that from just Google News.
I'll say this about Google News. Google News is where I mostly get my news from. I like Google News. I think it's the best source to get your news, and it's not quite a source rather than a meta source, because what it's
an aggregator.
It's an aggregator, and
you
it shows
think
you
they have a bias.
I don't.
You don't think they favor certain sources?
They should. They absolutely should.
Yeah, but you don't think they favor maybe left-leaning sources?
I don't.
You don't think the company that fires a guy for saying that men and women are biologically different might favor a news source that agrees with
They fired him for not doing his job.
Oh.
It's outside the scope of his job to send fucking cheeky little memos about your philosophical beliefs.
I'm sorry for insulting Google themselves.
Google, I see articles from Fox News on Google, and I see articles from MSNBC. I see large news sources, small news sources, and interestingly enough, I see Snopes on there, which I really appreciate.
What is
Especially Snopes is a website where they debunk certain myths. For example, when Donald Trump was allegedly, had a bunch of hookers pee on a bed that Obama slept in.
Yeah,
that came out in this memo that supposedly happened. People are curious as to whether it's true or false. So they go to Snopes, and Snopes has a reputation for doing really good research and finding the truth of the matter. So, for example, that weird, crazy forward that your uncle sent you, that email forward with a bunch of crackpot theories, is it true? Is there a militia coming for your guns? Is the government coming for your guns? Well, Snopes will do research and find out whether or not it's true or false.
You know, what's interesting to me is you're overstating. You are overstating that there's subjective opinion, and that's not the same as objective fact. You're so skeptical of objective truth, and now I see how much stock you put in the news, like knowing exactly what happened everywhere. Like, you need all these concrete events to be fed to you in order to make sense of the world, where you should be looking at the world with objective principles.
Okay, well, I don't even know what that means in this context.
I think he does.
Well, I
though.
do.
I think Maddox looks at the world objectively. I think he's just wrong about everything all the time.
Mikey.
And lives
Good
for-
point. And by the way, can I comment on this paradox
the paradox of choice.
of choice?
Yes.
Do you know that when people came from the Soviet Union, they would walk into a supermarket in America and see that, like, the cereal aisle and just start crying?
Yeah.
They couldn't believe how magnificent life can be.
Yes.
The fucking cereal aisle.
Right.
Is there a reason I'm getting this impatient? Right. Yes. Right.
Yeah.
I am
'Cause
describing.
I'm waiting for you to
I am
finish this fucking
describing.
shitty thought, the shitty opinion. What are you
I
going to
am
say?
describing moments of people crying in happiness when they didn't realize the abundance that was possible on Earth.
Right.
So
they're
yeah.
happy about the abundance, and then we give them.
Well, when their choice was restricted and now they're granted
There you
so
go.
much
So
choice.
this
Right.
paradox
Yeah.
of choice, says Maddox, makes
No.
people sad.
No, that's that's first of all, you completely misconstrued the paradox of choice. That's not them being so happy that there's so much choice. What they're happy about is that they have so much abundance, and then once they get acclimated to that, once it becomes a norm in their lives, in their society, then they walk down the cereal aisle just like every frumpy American, looking and scratching their heads and being like, well, I don't know, I guess Cookie Crisp. Right?
Which is so that's worse than having people starve to death because of lack of cereal.
That's not the two
not-
fucking
that's not-
choices.
that's not true
Dreadmere.
at all.
Okay.
You get your new iPhone. It's cool for X amount of time. Then you
Exactly,
want
then
the
you get
next
over
one.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then you get over it. Once people have acclimated, once people have come from the starvation of like whatever third world country or second world country they're in.
Well, those third world countries operate on this principle that objective reality is actually subjective.
oh my god, I don't even know where to begin with you, Rucka.
Well, you
I
don't have
know,
to begin because it was already settled just
it
now.
was it was not. It was
Okay.
not. Okay, Rucka, what's the best flavor of cereal? Is there an objective truth to that?
Lucky Charms.
What's
Very, very
the, What's the best color? Is there an objective truth to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And pink,
What? How
second
should
place.
how should people style their hair? Goatee
Like
or
I
no
do.
goatee?
Like I do.
Great. Are those objective truths?
Yes.
No. You have to. Here's an objective truth, Rucka.
Yes.
Subjective reality and being subjective exists.
Mm-hmm. Wait, what?
Okay.
Objective.
Having a subject. Say that. Say that.
Subjectivity
Yeah.
Is a real thing.
is a real thing,
Objective
Okay.
truth.
and that's an
Boom.
objective truth.
And until we start investigating and looking into scientifically, using our imagination to push science, Nikola Tesla said that. Until we start using the things that we can't see to actually fuel science, then we'll actually start learning.
Mikey, you are on fire today, and I wish that,
Yeah.
that you didn't disagree with me at all. So I'm going to give you one of those and one of these.
Thank you.
Rucka, do you have a wrap up for us?
Yeah. Every type of technology has been used for pornography and for war. You know, it's what we choose to. I mean, every type of communication technology, particularly. You know, photography, fucking whatever it is, email, like whatever it is that we use to communicate, it has been used for pornography and war. What we choose to use technology for is up to us.
It's a Rucka wrap-up.
Yeah.
You know, Rucka, I
Yeah.
give you a lot of shit sometimes, but I
Yeah.
think that was like a really profound thing. I
It was
think
the
you
most
said-
sane thing you've said all day.
I heard
It's-
someone say it
Gotta
once.
bring the good and the bad.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely accurate. Every technology has been used for pornography and war. That's really interesting. Even Etch-a-Sketches.
Doesn't surprise me.
I've drawn boobs on there before, wieners.
Oh, we all right.
And then sometimes when you're mad, you can throw it at someone.
I'm
Start
not.
a war
I'm not
with it.
sure. Etch-a-Sketch is a tool of communication that so much as it's just like a toy to draw shit on.
Oh, you can
That's
communicate
where
with
you're
an
wrong.
Etch-a-Sketch, but yeah,
Yeah. Well, has it been used for war?
if you throw it at somebody hard
Very-
enough,
Very
True.
slow war.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you are at a political rally and you throw it towards the speaker,
Mm.
guaranteed there's a chance.
Yeah.
There's a chance something
So
could happen.
by that criteria, every material object that you can throw is now a tool of communication.
If you hold up an Etch-a-Sketch at a sport game and they put you on the Jumbotron, it's because they acknowledge the time it took to do that. Anyone could write in big writing, but
True.
The Etch-a-Sketch is, I think, a thinking kid's communication tool because it takes so long for you to communicate your message. You have a lot of time to think about it, and for that reason, I went on a crab binge a while ago. I decided that crab was a thinking man's food, and my favorite food because I'm a thinking man. And the reason is because it takes so long to eat that you have a lot of time to think.
Yeah, I hate
So
that.
by that, pistachios and
Yes, it's a
bread.
thinking man's
Yeah,
nut.
sure.
That's right. Correct.
What else? Lobster.
Lobsters, I would say it's the interested man's food. He's interested in thinking, but he's lobster. You scoop it right out. Dreadmere, I didn't give you the final word on smartphones. Yes or no? Are they making us smarter or dumber?
They're making us smarter. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with them. I think for everything, for vaccinations, for smartphones, it's all the same thing. You have to want the better thing, like wanting to want something better. So like just because you have a phone and you're distracted, you should want to be engaged with people, and you should want to have your kid not get sick. You know what I mean? Like it's important to be motivated for these kinds of things. It's not the phone's fault.
Do you think that phone addiction is real? Do you think that video game addiction, these types of addictions, so people may want to be more engaged and more present with their dates and more present with their friends, but they can't because they're addicted? They actually have a psychological addiction to their cell phones. Do you think that's a reality?
I think that you could be spending an unhealthy amount of time on it, and you may want to not do that anymore, but people can get over addictions. It's possible.
Okay. Well, interesting discussion, guys. Vote on madcastmedia.com. That's where you go to vote on these debates. We'll have the results next week. But speaking of results, I got last week's results. And James, I want to get your opinion, and Dreadmere too, because you guys weren't here last week.
Okay.
What is the biggest dating turnoff, in your opinion?
Talking about ex-boyfriends, ex-girlfriends.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Good.
That's a really good one.
good one.
And Dreadmere?
Biggest dating turnoff. That would have to imply that I had a bad date, and I just haven't had very many.
Wow.
Oh wait, no, there was this time.
crushing
Okay,
it.
no,
Slaying.
there was
Yeah.
this girl I met on Tinder, and I went to pick her up, and I made she looks super hot in her photo, right? So I went to go pick her up, and she comes out, and I made reservations at this nice restaurant, and then right when she gets in the car, she said something like, "Oh, I didn't expect you to have a car this nice," or something like it was a little bit racial. Like she said "Oh, I didn't know Mexicans drive cars this nice," or
Oh,
something like
whoa.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it took
Hold
it got
on,
Pump
she's
the
single now?
brakes.
yes. But the thing was she said it so nicely that I could tell she didn't realize that she was being offensive, but that turned me off right away. And so we're driving, she's like, "So where are you taking me?" And I'm like, "Applebee's." We're not going to
What
that
was your
nice
response
Were
to
you
her?
like Taco Bell?
Yeah, that's Mexican food.
Was she like, "Wow, I didn't know you people drove cars"? Is that how she said it?
Did she get a second date? What was the follow-up here?
Oh no, it was just there. It was just a one time.
When you walked up to her, did she say hola? How did she begin? Was
How
it
do you
always-
pronounce that, Mike?
Hola.
Hola. That's how. Yeah, that was wow.
Well, it's
Took
perfect,
Spanish.
perfect. Mikey, not just pronunciations, but accents.
That's right.
That's great.
Hola.
Hell yeah.
That's great. Okay, well, so these are interesting picks. I guess backhanded racism and talking about your ex.
Turn off. Yeah.
Well, last week, therapist Kelly Miller was the guest, and we debated what the biggest dating turnoff is. Coming in number 4, dead last, was being argumentative. I'm sorry, Mikey, that was your pick, right? Being argumentative?
It's vague.
Because it's a turn on. The
Yeah.
makeup sex. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And then, Rucka, complacency.
Why do I always lose?
I'm sorry. You've won. I think you won one.
Yeah, I won
You
one.
won one. You've won one. Yeah, you did win one. And then people who don't floss.
Yeah.
Wrong. That's a big one.
Oh, that one didn't. Well,
What?
I'm glad that one did better than mine. Then.
Second place, people who don't floss. That was my pick.
Really?
Yeah, but the number one choice,
Oh,
the
no.
biggest dating turnoff, lack of intelligence.
Yeah.
Oh, give me a break.
Our guest Kelly Miller, therapist Kelly Miller, she chose lack of intelligence as the biggest dating turnoff. That wouldn't turn you off.
Yeah, it would, but I don't trust the voters.
Yeah.
Couldn't we mold all
true.
4 answers into being intertwined somehow, though?
Yeah, we could.
Argumentative.
Yes.
which shows lack of intelligence because of their basis of the actual, and then
and
because
they're
they
less
floss.
likely to floss.
Right.
less likely to floss. And
Yeah. By the way,
and-
intelligence means flossing. All right.
Yeah.
Intelligent people floss.
like she pretty much said, God is the coolest dude who's ever lived.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I'm trying.
I consider myself fairly intelligent.
Okay.
And by fairly, I mean the most intelligent person on earth. And for a while, I didn't floss, and I think I explained this last episode. It was because I was misinformed, partly by my parents and partly by Listerine.
Yeah.
And if you guys watch this video on YouTube, which you should, subscribe, search for Madcast Media on YouTube, subscribe, hit that bell. You'll get the notification as soon as these episodes
that
come up.
explains a lot.
What's that?
You one Listerine commercial sets you down a terrible path in life, and now you don't trust your own phone and commercials. And
No, because as a
news
child,
sources.
you're informed by the world around you, and these Listerine commercials. Even as recently as I think a couple years ago, I posted a short little video clip of a Listerine commercial where the guy swishes the Listerine, or the girl swishes Listerine in his or her mouth, and the Listerine kind of does this whirlpool in
That's
your mouth.
what it is.
Yeah,
the
and
whirlpool.
then it turns into a man, an anthropomorphic Listerine man, shooting sprays of Listerine like a sprinkler inside your mouth, and then the sprinkler of Listerine is blasting in between your teeth. And when I see that, I visualize it, and I think, oh God, I'm gonna use Listerine. My mouth's gonna be squeaky clean. I don't need to floss. But the truth is, Listerine doesn't get between your teeth because it's gunked up with junk and bullshit that stinks and rots, and that's how you get halitosis and bad breath. You gotta fucking floss.
You got halitosis.
Yeah. And my parents also misinformed me. So.
Yeah.
no, that's mostly their fault.
So parents.
So it turns
Both
out there
of them.
wasn't a little Listerine guy cleaning your teeth.
No. Turns out, according to my dentist and all the fucking cavities I used to get, no more. I have really great teeth now. Anyway, we should get to some voicemail. Guys, I got so many great voicemails this week. This one's about a big dating turnoff, and it's a girl. Listen to this.
Hey, Maddox, it's Jen. I think personally the biggest turnoff for dating is when you're getting like really close with the guy and getting comfortable with him, and then he's a gamer and you want to game with him too, and then he whips out fucking Sonic, proclaiming how cool and fast he is, and then it's just like, what's the point? All right, love the show. Bye.
Thanks, but I'll tell you what the point is. You're in for some hot sex if your date says he likes Sonic.
Yeah, so fast.
It's gonna be
and so
hot and fast.
Someone.
And so cool.
And cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like Sonic just got this guy not laid. I
Yeah.
have a problem with games that get you not laid.
Whatever. Well, here's another caller. Here's a different point of view. Listen to this guy.
Hello, Captain Dirk here. You know what's a huge turnoff for me is when a babe just doesn't appreciate something that's fast and cool and has attitude. Maybe you think I'm going somewhere with this, and you're right. It's babes who don't understand and appreciate why Sonic the Hedgehog is so cool.
Yeah,
You know,
there it is.
maybe Sega might have dropped the ball during Sonic Heroes and Sonic 06 and Sonic and the Black Knight and Sonic Force. But anyways, like there's lots of cool things to appreciate about Sonic the Hedgehog. You know what? I think babes really need to understand why. Okay, bye.
Sorry, gotta go get laid now.
Yeah. Don't have time. Got to get laid fast. That's what Sonic's all about, the quickie, man.
Yeah,
Was that the
sure.
guy from the
That's
first call that she was talking about? Did she go on a date?
Maybe.
He sounds
the math.
upset.
Maybe related.
Yeah.
Look, guys, Sonic is all about attitude and speed and style. Those are the three things that I think define Sonic: attitude, speed, and style. So the ass, it's the ASS, and it helps you get ass.
There you go.
Sonic, I mean, Dreadmere, back me up here. Millennials are all about eating that ass, right?
We're innovative, I guess.
Yeah. And Sonic look, Sonic and Sonic is really fast. Sonic is about the quickie lifestyle, man. That's what millennials are into.
Quickies?
Quickies, yeah. Well, here's a caller about the $300 reward discussion that we had.
Yeah.
Listen to this.
Update.
Yeah.
All right, I'll settle this fucking debate over whether $300 is a good enough amount of money for a reward for saving one's life. Want to know why? Because $300 is enough to buy a Nintendo Switch, motherfuckers, with an MSRP of $299.99.
What about the tax, though?
Boom.
So
$300.
It's not enough.
Plenty of money.
Thought about
I
it.
don't fucking dispute that. Oh, you gotta pay $300 plus tax. Well, fuck off. You can handle like a little bit of sales tax.
Yeah.
could be.
Yourself, motherfucker.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Motherfucker.
$300 is enough because it can buy you a motherfucking Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Fuck whales.
Yeah. Fuck whales to you too. I like that color a lot.
Yeah, who is that guy? I love. He's got a voice. He should be doing like voices and stuff.
Yeah. He's got. Yeah. Yeah.
I hope the extent of his broadcast career is not just leaving that voicemail.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's called in before. I like that.
Well, in that case,
Yeah.
he's doing big things.
Yeah, reaching a big audience.
Yeah.
Speaking of 300, though, I mentioned how 300 was enough Spartans to take on the Persian Empire. Well, this guy called in with a correction. Listen to this.
Maddox, 300 Spartans took down the Persians. Yes, those 300 Spartans that were completely obliterated by the massive Persian army. Come on, I thought you'd know the history of your people better than this, man.
Wait, what?
I guess
You're Persian now?
I guess I'm Persian now, or I guess I'm Greek. I guess I'm Roman.
Yeah. Wait.
Yeah.
So what happened?
The
With
Spartans.
300. Yeah.
They put up a good fight.
And they
But
lost.
they lost?
For brotherhood.
I thought
Haven't you
I thought it
seen
was
the
Redmere.
Oh, I
In
mean,
the movie, I
pretty
think they won.
iconic.
sorry, I didn't
Right?
realize
It
it
was,
was my
it was a
fault.
bro out. It was like a Greek bro out. Like Gerard Butler.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even need to say anymore. It's just Gerard Butler with a sword.
I thought they won. I thought that's
Yeah,
why it
I
was
think.
cool.
I mean, I'm
No,
not.
they lost.
I'm not as confident as the last caller, but to my knowledge, those Spartans not only saved Greece, but if you look at the sequence of events, all of Western history would never have happened had it been strangled in the cradle.
Or it would have just been a delayed inevitability.
No, it wouldn't.
I guess we can just we can have this dispute about facts that never happen.
Let's check on
Sure.
Snopes.
Yeah, check on Snopes.
Yeah.
Here's another caller about Kanye West, because I shit on him a couple episodes ago, and we had some callers call in to defend. Well, here's someone who disagrees.
Yeah, so back on that whole Kanye West thing. All right, Kanye West fucking sucks. Here's an example of why he sucks. Here's one of his lyrics. I'd give anything to get my granny back. Remember how she had that bad hip like a fanny pack?
Ugh.
Oh my
Yeah.
fucking God, someone call the Kennedy Center. We have a new inductee. Fucking greatest American lyric ever. Totally. Fucking douchebag.
Remember when he delivered it like that too? Like it was the same feeling.
I thought I was
Yeah.
listening to an excerpt from the song, honestly.
Yeah,
Can't tell.
Well.
That's a dope lyric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess this guy doesn't like bars about your dead relatives or whatever.
Yeah.
Not into it.
Well, last week we also had a caller call in, and in the middle of his call, place an order to Chick-fil-A.
Oh yeah.
Well, this is a first that's ever happened on Madcast Media,
Mm.
but we actually had the manager.
Hi, yes, this is Bill. I'm a manager at Chick-fil-A. I don't know who exactly I'm talking to, but we had a very inappropriate customer come through our drive-through the other day. They ordered a number 4 with extra Chick-fil-A sauce, and then immediately started talking about, how do I say this, masturbation. Chick-fil-A is a Christian company. We do not masturbate here at Chick-fil-A. And hopefully you can let your listeners know that speaking about masturbation is inappropriate when it comes to our Jesus chicken. Thank you, and it will be our pleasure to serve you in the future.
Hey, there you go. Chick-fil-A manager actually calling in. We appreciate you taking the time. Amazing that he sussed out that this was the podcast that the caller was calling into based on
Masturbation.
based on we were actually talking about reverse masturbation. Dreadmere, do you, just based on that concept, do you have an idea of what I mean when I say reverse masturbation?
No.
Okay. James, how about you?
Not a clue.
Really? It's basically the opposite of jerking off. It's the opposite of jerking yourself off, your ego, where you're blowing yourself up and blowing sunshine up your own ass. Reverse masturbation is talking yourself down. So you know, speaking low. Right, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Anyway, here's another caller about something Rucka and I discussed about paying for dates. Listen to this guy.
Hey, Maddox. I just want to weigh in on the subject of guys paying for women on dates. Personally, I've gotten to the point where I just refuse to pay for dates. I'm sick and tired of paying for food, drinks, entertainment. One of the girls just ghosts me when I try and schedule another date. I'm not letting women use me for free meals anymore. Not to mention, most online dates I go on are complete garbage. I'm sick of going out with women who don't have any hobbies or interests, and instead just talk about how insecure they are. So it comes down to it, why should I pay money to be someone else's entertainment?
Ooh, that's a good question. What do you think of that, Rucka?
I mean, what he's describing is how disappointing people are.
Yeah.
So that's the problem is there's like nobody to date. That the problem is not who pays for the date.
Well, if I go on a disappointing date, it's going to sting extra hard if the girl expects me to pay. And by the way, when I go out on dates, I generally expect to pay. But if they offer, it's really nice. And that to me signals it's a gesture that I appreciate.
Offering is cool, but
Yeah.
this is all like... That guy sounds like an incel. Have you heard that term?
Yeah, I know what an incel
It sounds
is.
like he's frustrated with women because, oh, I took her skydiving and she didn't want to fuck me after. It's like, it's the same thing.
No, that guy sounds like someone who gets laid a lot.
Yeah.
Because he actually...
He gets ghosted.
No, he's
Yeah, it
just
doesn't
like...
sound like he's going on a lot of dates.
Really? I don't know. Well, and let's define incel for our audience. An incel is like an offshoot of the MRA movement. Would you say red pillars, MRAs?
Yeah.
So basically you have the MRAs,
Mhm.
and then you have two sects, okay? You have the incels. Those are guys who consider themselves involuntarily celibate. And what that means is they feel entitled, they feel entitled to sex, and they get extremely angry and upset and resentful and bitter when they don't get it.
Mhm.
And so those guys have a lot of pent-up anger, and they blame women. And then you have the MGTOWs. MGTOW stands for men going their own way.
Yeah.
And that's where Rucka and I fall into.
Yeah.
Those are guys who are just like,
MGTOW.
fuck it, we
shit.
MGTOW.
Yeah.
We just fist bumped. That's where like guys are like, fuck it, we don't need women anymore. We're not gay.
True.
Right? We're not
Not
gay.
at all.
No. We're like always straight.
How is it gay?
No, it's like straight masturbation, like just to straight porn though, you know, like it's just total. We're really straight.
Broing out some straight porn, my bros.
Broing out, yeah.
Oh.
Just like a bunch of guys getting together, broing out to some straight porn.
Yeah, that's not weird.
Yeah. So
No.
those are the MGTOWs. So I would say they are the more positive version of these guys who aren't getting
Well,
laid.
one has choice, right? The one that you're in, and then the other one's involuntary, so they don't have
Well,
choice.
Allegedly involuntary.
Right,
and that's
yeah.
where that guy, that creepy dude who shot up Santa Barbara, he was an incel.
Elliot Rogers.
Elliot Rogers. That's
Yeah.
right. That piece of shit.
Oh.
Yeah, he was an actual incel.
He's like
I'm gonna censor
I don't
his
want to
name
say
out.
he's like a figure, not a figurehead, but he's like they always talk about him as an incels. They're like they reference him a lot. Like
Yeah.
I don't think there's any groups like that anymore. I remember on Reddit, I would look at it occasionally because I'm like, this is crazy. Like these people are pissed.
It's bonkers.
It's
yeah.
insane to read like how frustrated these people are. But I think it's got to take it down or something because they get really violent and
Yeah.
fucking. It's like it's crazy. But
They have so much deep-seated hatred and resentment because they can't get laid. It's a big problem, which I'm going to talk about at some point down the line. But we should move on to the next voicemail. This one's about chicks with accents. What do you guys think about chicks with accents?
oh, that's my weakness.
Depends,
Yeah.
on the accent.
Depends on the accent.
No,
Okay,
not
fair,
for me.
both fair
Yeah,
answers.
actually.
But usually a good thing.
Usually positive.
Usually cause, but like, hold on, before we hear it. Well,
Well,
like,
here's this
like
guy, yeah.
Irish accent, no thanks. Scottish, I will kill myself.
Now we know.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, here's a caller
All
with an interesting theory. Listen to this.
Mhm.
Hey guys, you know what is a big turnoff is a stupid accent. Not sure if anybody mentioned that, but like New Jersey,
Oh God.
California, anything on the east or west coast really. Texas drawl, not into that stuff. Arkansas is just as bad. What I want is a nice Midwest girl who's got a regular friggin' voice. You don't have to guess what she's saying all the time because of her accent.
Hell
Keep doing
yeah.
what you're doing, and see ya.
I thought like Midwestern is like saying car. I'm driving
Yeah.
my car.
That's Minnesota. How do you say it?
Minnesota, yeah.
Minnesota.
Hey.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
Listen, the reason, by the way, I forgot like East Coast, like New Jersey accents and
Yeah.
Brooklyn.
Hot.
Ugh,
So
gross.
hot. No, I
You're
like
into that shit.
I like every accent. Every time a girl doesn't talk like me, it makes me melt. All
Every time?
accents, every
All right.
accent. I don't
Every
know.
accent, huh?
Yeah.
I love a British accent.
Mhm.
I like
sure.
Australian accents.
That's
are
the best one.
sexy.
Yeah, it's like a
Best
shitty
one.
British one. It's okay.
Sexy.
The ghetto British girls. Hell
Indian
yeah.
accents are cute.
That's where it gets weird.
No. That's not.
Listen, I don't mean to mock. You know why I don't like accents?
Yeah, wrong. Why?
Because they remind me of regions of the world, and they remind me of of the people that live in them. I think like people that are like, when he goes Midwest accent, I'm just thinking of like people in the Midwest, and I'm like, yeah, this world is depressing. I don't want to date anybody.
I think Dreadmere knows a nice girl that you should go out with.
Yeah, the one who hates Mexicans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was from the Midwest, by the way.
Yeah. Rocket, you guys can get together and just talk shit.
That's right.
Yeah.
Maybe play some Sonic. I don't know.
Hell yeah.
Rucka and her going on a date. It's like, yeah, your friend Dreadmere, can't believe he drives that car.
Yeah.
You know, for his people.
Right.
I can't believe he drives a car.
Yeah, any kind of car. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I thought you guys all drove pickups. Anyway, I'll say this about the Midwest accent. For some reason, I think I've hooked up with a fair amount of chicks from Michigan. And I think the Michigan accent is pretty hot. Well, here's one last voicemail. It's a little bit more dating advice from Weird Matthew McConaughey. Listen to this guy. Because I talked about taking a girl out to sushi dinner. And he has some opinions on that. Listen to this.
Here's a little tip that none of you touched on. If you're taking a chick out on a date and you think you might be going pound town later, don't take her to some fucking sushi place where you're going to get fucking fish farts in your face later. Take her to just like... no chains, but just standard, like, nothing crazy, nothing that will upset the tummy.
Yeah, well, look, man.
It's a little
Weird Matthew,
nihilistic.
chicks don't get fish farts, bro.
I don't know, like, what's less upsetting to your stomach than just, like, raw fish?
Well, raw fish...
Am I wrong?
Well, raw fish does upset some people's stomach.
In all fairness, Weird Matthew McConaughey is eating sushi and... not California and not anywhere they should be making sushi. So I think that it goes through those girls' bodies.
Right, having
differently.
fish farts, bro.
Yeah, I've heard of the Indiana sushi scene, and I'm not impressed.
Yeah. Well, that's it for voicemail, guys. Let's get to some quick news headlines from around the web. This is from BBC. It says, worried about your bags being stolen at security? Well, one Chinese woman joined her handbag through the x-ray machine to prevent just that. Staff at Donegan Railway Station in southern China were shocked to find the silhouette of the train commuter in their x-ray monitors. And this is an amazing picture. It actually shows her in the x-ray machine, kind of crouched over with her bag. It says, an online video showed the bizarre incident took place on Sunday during the Lunar New Year travel rush. It's the Chinese New Year. It's a big one. After climbing off the conveyor belt, the woman checked her bags and left. Extraordinary x-ray images show the woman kneeling on all fours behind her luggage, still wearing high-heel shoes. It is unclear why the woman was so anxious about her handbag, but many people in China carry large amounts of cash with them when traveling for Chinese New Year.
Yeah, Year of the Dog. She's on all fours in the x-ray machine. That's like some kind of omen thing, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So she's just going through the x-ray machine, just hugging it, and you just see this skeleton.
The silhouette, it's actually, you don't even see too much of her bones because it's not that powerful, I guess, because it's not like
it's just a train station. I mean,
it's a
train station. I thought it was TSA.
I mean, they have to penetrate like at most a centimeter or two of fabric for most people's bags, so they probably don't have that set up too high.
TSA penetrates everything. I learned that on my Florida flight this last time. I'm done with them. Not going back to Florida.
Yeah, man.
Touching me.
All right, we got one last headline. An Oregon woman finds worms in her eyes. Did you guys see this?
No.
This footage? It's gross. She said, I looked at it and it was moving, recalled 28-year-old Abby Beckley of Grants Pass, Oregon. And then it died within about 5 seconds. So she pulled these worms out of her eyes. She pulled 14 of them in all. Her story, published Monday as a case report by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, is a historic one. This is only the 11th time a person has been infected by eye worms in North America.
North America.
10 other people got worms in their eyes, I guess. Explained the lead author, Richard Bradbury, who is the team lead for the CDC's Parasite Diagnostics and Biology Laboratory. But what was really exciting is that it was a new species that has never infected people's eyes before. It's a cattle worm that somehow jumped into a human. Fucking gross, dude.
How did they even get in there?
Probably laid a few eggs, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes people rub their eyes. Here's what people don't understand about rubbing your eyes. That's how the majority of people get sick. Your eyes are an inlet into your body. You don't think about it because you blink a lot and you have tear ducts and you have eyelids, but it is an inlet in your body. Your eyes, your ears less because it's kind of sealed off with the, your eardrum, but it can still get infected. And your mouth. But rubbing your eyes is one of the biggest ways people get sick. I learned that in a biology class a long time ago. And that's also how you could introduce larvae into your eyes.
That's what I thought it was when you said that the worms were coming out. I assumed it was like larva or some
yeah,
shit
something
like that.
she introduced. Yeah, the video is super gross. She pulled these like tiny little worms. Man, there's so many fucking worm stories lately. Another guy like pulled a giant tapeworm out of his ass a couple weeks ago. Did we talk about it on this show or my new show? Well, anyway, guys, that's a plug for my new show. I'm doing a new show every Friday. Tune in. But anyway, speaking of plugs, Dreadmere and James, thank you very much for coming on the show. James, is there anything you'd like to plug?
You can check out my podcast, All Things Video, which has a very different feel, but kind of looking at the online video industry and the business side of things.
It is absolutely fantastic.
Great guests.
Oh, thank you so much. It is absolutely fantastic, and I'm not just blowing sunshine up your ass. It's a really well done, very well produced podcast.
Thank you.
A lot of fun, James. I was on a recent episode, and we talked about my career and the
some of the YouTube policy changes, some of the things going on with the Logan Paul and Jake Paul scandals. So
yeah, it was very interesting. Where can people find that again?
All Things Video.
All Things
Stitcher,
Video.
You can find it on Google Play, Apple Podcasts.
Right.
It's out there.
And Video Inc. What's the...
Yeah, so we syndicated on Video Inc. as well, which is a kind of an industry trade for the online video industry.
Yeah, and Paladin is the name of the software company.
That's right.
Very interesting stuff.
Yeah, you can find us at paladinsoftware.com.
Yeah, very cool. Thank you, James. And Dreadmere?
You can find me at Dreadmere on anything social media. iPhone, just whatever.
By the way, Dreadmere, again, I don't want to just like blow sunshine up your ass, but your tweets are on fire lately. They're so fucking funny. Are you making all those tweets yourselves?
No, I'd say like 80% of them come from other places, but then I put a lot of my own. But yeah, like I'm trying to keep my feed entertaining, and I want to put content out like all day, every day. So yeah, like a lot of these tweets come from other places, but for the most part, it's other places. But I have a couple that I threw in there myself.
Give Dreadmere a follow on Twitter. They're hilarious, and also your Instagram account. He posts. You're still posting original sketches.
I'm going to. Yeah, I'm still trying to get this. I'm working on commentary right now. So if you go to my YouTube, you'll find some commentary, and then get some sketches out too.
Well, it's interesting stuff. Thank you again to James Creech and Dreadmere for coming on the show.
Yeah.
Thank you to the Sultan of Swag, Mikey Bolts.
Thank you.
Thank you to the Maharaja of Moderation, Rucka Rucka Ali.
Yeah.
But most of all, you're welcome.
Hey man, I just want to say I love your show. I love Rucka More. Mikey, you're cool. Your guests are badass. But the biggest turnoff of all time is when a girl tells you, put it in my ass on the first night. That is disgusting. It's like, what the fuck? And it's like, you start to wonder stuff like, is she transvestite or, no, it doesn't matter. But anyways, I'm just saying, that's like, come on. We haven't even kissed yet and you're telling me to put it in your ass? No. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah.
You're about to get laid. And you're complaining about like a little disclaimer.
I'm just saying it's weird when she just gets in your car and after the Mexican car remark, she says, put it in my ass. It's weird. That's all I'm saying.
It's kind of hot because she's like, you know what? We're going to skip number 1 and we're going to go right for number 2.
Yeah, there's a lot of holes in this story.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of holes in this.
I was going, oh, baby. Gross.
Good
Very
one,
good,
Maddox.
Mikey. Very good. I like that a lot. We got another voicemail. Here's one last one from Weird Matthew McConaughey talking about my theory on giving people choices, dinner options, basically. And here's what he says.
I don't usually like to warm Rucka's balls up with my own breath, but I gotta agree with him on the just take the woman out to dinner. Don't give her any choices.
Never.
First of all, women don't like choices. True. Second of all, they can't handle them at all. You give them 3 choices, just start fucking making a PBJ, because you'll never go out to eat.
Yeah.
Very bleak point of view.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hopefully she doesn't choose sushi, I guess, for him, right?
Yeah, you don't want those fish farts. Fish farts aren't a thing, man. Sushi's like some of the cleanest food you can eat. You eat sushi, you're not farting anything bad, anything raunchy. The worst is Italian food, especially if it's a first date.
Yeah.
We're going to
This is a whole
Mactown.
other debate, man.
Yeah,
It's a whole other debate.
Really, there's no reason to ever eat Italian.
Hold on.
Yeah, whoa.
As we're this close to ending the show.
Yeah.
Ooh, the most controversial statement, but we got to end it there.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
All the voicemail next week is just...
Hey there. Don't forget to subscribe to Madcast shows on iTunes, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast app. Okay, bye. Madcast Media Network.